Well, welcome to the 21st Century Writer, a podcast devoted to helping you, self-published writer, establish the mindset that will allow you and your writing to flourish in the new world of self-publishing. My name is Diane Patterson. I'm a novelist and blogger, and with me is...
I'm Hannah Steenbock, a German author and coach. I always mess that up.
So wait. Who am I again?
That happens with a split personality.
Come up with separate identities, but then I was like, wait a second. Some of us already have.
Yeah.
And this has been an exciting week for writers.
Oh, absolutely.
But first, we're going to talk about how exciting it's been for Hannah and me. Hannah, you want to say a few things about how your writing week has gone?
Not a lot of writing has actually happened, but I did start out working on my fourth novella in the Cloudlands saga, which has parts that I took out of the third part when it got too complicated. So I basically started deleting stuff and looked for a good entry point into the whole story, considering that the first part, that it basically branches off the third part fairly early in the story. So I needed to pick that branching off moment and find a good beginning for the whole story. And I think I did that okay. I created an outtake file for everything I deleted, because I seriously hate throwing away whole scenes, so I create outtake files.
Absolutely.
And
let me make a note. There's something I want to mention after you finish, so let me make a note about this. Okay.
Well, I'm basically already done, because now that the story is set up to move ahead, I have all the parts that I had sort of fused together into a strong beginning, into action, into stuff happening. And the other day, a couple of weeks ago, I had a very intense scene in mind, and that's at the end of the story, so I wrote that back then, and I'm going to, well, write everything in between in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, cool. Well, good.
That's it.
That's a good week for writing. Any week spent thinking about the projects is a pretty good week.
It's not a week I could measure in word count, but you can't always measure your writing work in word count, I think.
You know, that's something really interesting. A lot of people say so many words per day or so many hours spent per day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for different people, it works different ways.
Yes.
If my vision of a successful day was solely tied to X thousands of words written, I'm not sure I'd be a happy camper. But for some people, that works really well, having that kind of metric. You have to find what works for you in terms of, if you have a book due to an editor at the end of the month and you know that you have to write 60,000 words,
Yes.
You're probably going to keep pretty good track of that thermometer. God, there was somewhere I was reading, and now I can't remember where it was, where someone was discussing the various ways of keeping track of our various metrics people can use to know that they're on it. And I will try to remember what that is. You were mentioning the outtakes file reminded me of many people know the work of Steven Pressfield, who wrote The War of Art, which is all about resistance, the artist's least best friend. He also did Turning Pro, which was kind of a sequel to The War of Art, and then Do the Work, which no one will hear this, but if you hear this by Monday, is actually free on Steven Pressfield's site. But then it won't be free after June 22nd. So highly recommended all of these books, and I will put links to them in the show notes. I love these books. It's like it's when you read something and you're like, oh, it's not just me. Other people feel this way. It's just so comforting to, Oh, it's not just me who gets nervous doing that. Okay. Recently on his, and he has a blog, because of course, and he does a thing called Writing Wednesdays, where every Wednesday he posts a blog about writing. And he recently did a series of the 5 files that he always has open when he's working on a project. And one of them he calls culls.
Yes.
I think I call mine cuts, or I don't know what I call mine. But yeah, I just, every time I clip something, I just clip it out of the file I'm writing in and I stick it in this other file. And it's like, I haven't deleted it. I still have it.
Yeah.
But for all intents or as I like to say, for all intensive purposes, for all intents and purposes, it is cut, but I haven't gotten rid of it. So yes, highly recommend having this file whenever you're working on something. You are simply moving your brilliant words from one file to another, and they're still there. You can always go back and use them again. I will put a link to this series in the show notes because it was really great. The 5, he keeps a list of scenes he knows he has to get to, stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So my week has been pretty good. It's been more productive this week, although still trying to adjust to my son has started camp, and that ends at 2 every day. Unfortunately, it's 20 minutes to the camp and 20 minutes home from the camp, so I have to finish up no later than 1:30, and then the day is kind of shot. Also, my daughter is taking a school trip to Europe.
Wow.
Next week. I know. What do you mean? They can't allow babies to fly on planes without their mommies? Yeah, she's not having any of that. She's off to Europe without mom. Anyhow, cool. We have had to be running around getting her a number of things, like a bank account with an ATM card so she can withdraw money overseas.
Yep, that's helpful.
Yeah, well, it was like I've done that. I never thought I'd have to do that for my little girl, but anyhow, so, but even saying that, I've done 6,000 or 7,000 words this week. I know
that's good.
Many people do that in a single day, but I'm still running things around the house in addition to everything else. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with my week, and the rewrite is going pretty well. Some things that I realized that one of the big problems in the previous draft was that I was avoiding something. There was something I didn't want to do. And I'm like, you're going to have to do that, right? It's like, no, there must be some way around this. I'll write a different story. And it's like, no, you have to write this story and you have to do this. So I'm girding up for it, but I'm accepting that I have to do it. That's part of the fun of being a writer. You get to do horrible things to your characters.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my week. Did you read anything? Did you come across anything?
Nothing that pops up right now. I've been not having a really good week. I'm working on a lot of mood issues and stuff, and it's getting better. I can say that.
Yeah.
I found ways of dealing with it, but it took a couple of days to actually recognize and accept that there's something that I need to take care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not a whole lot of writing, but that's part of life. I mean, even writers hit dark places and they hit weeks where nothing really much happens, and that's just life. So
that's what happens.
So that happened.
Yeah.
Not a lot of writing happened, but I'm getting back on track, and that's good.
So recently we finished a rewatch of the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones because my daughter, the same one flying off to Europe, wanted to see it. And I didn't really watch seasons 2 and 3 because season 1 annoyed me so greatly that I'm like, I'm out. But I did see more of it this time, watching it with my daughter. And having watched it all the way through, and then we finished 4 and went through 5 as fast as possible, and we finished about a day after everyone else did with the show.
Wow.
Yeah, there were a couple of 2 episode and evening things. It was like, okay, I've had enough of Westeros. One thing that became, I'm still not a huge fan of the show, despite the fact how often I seem to be mentioning it recently, for many of the same reasons that people have problems with it. I'm also have problems with it. But one thing has come through really clearly that was not that clear to me being a casual viewer of the first couple seasons. And that is the structure of this thing is amazing. There are many, many axes on which the show can be faulted, but structure is not one of them. And so there's an ending to season 5. They've said that there are 7 seasons to this. The ending to season 5 had a couple of things happen in it that really shocked viewers. And I guess shocked readers because they read about this 4 years ago. And they're like, this is terrible. I'm out. This is the worst. And I'm like, the worst, you say? Death, you say? Death to your favorite character, you say? And we're about, 2/3 of the way through the story, you say? Could this be the end of Act 2? Let's see. Given the structure that they have set up for this thing, we are absolutely at the end of Act 2, people. It's not going to be light and joy from here, but this is when all the dominoes start falling. This is where everything that he's set up, or Martin has set up with the showrunners Benioff and Weiss, has set up, will all start coming together. There is a character who's died, who if there's a place in Vegas to put down money that guy does not stay dead, I will go to that place in Vegas and put down money because he's coming back. It was, doing that rewatch, it was so clear that we were at the end, that we reached the end of Act 2 at the end of season 5. And it's, for all my complaints with the story, I can't complain about that. The end of Act 2 is your darkest moment. It is when some kind of death occurs, some kind of lowest moment. And boy, howdy, we are at the lowest moment by far. And so I went back to episode 1, season 1, episode 1. And I said, who is the first main character who appears on screen? Boom, there are 3 main characters on screen. The center of the screen. I was like, guys, really, do not sweat this death. He's coming back. Clear as day. There are no accidents in this setup, in how tightly they have structured this. So if you're interested in long form structure of many threaded plots, gotta tell you, the show, I don't know about the books. I've heard that people are just out on the books because they just meander. The show is a very good masterclass in that. So
I love it when that happens. I mean, I'm not watching. I never read the books. I probably won't watch it.
Yeah.
But I totally love it when something like that happens, when you have this aha and you realize, wow, they've done their job. They've
done their job.
They've really created something there, and that's awesome. I love it.
I mean, social media went up in flames Sunday night with what happened.
Yeah, I kind of saw that.
and it's kind of like, these are characters in a fantasy story, right? I mean, there are dragons and wizards and zombies, and the way that so many people are so invested in these characters. I was just like, I was thrilled. I really was. You don't really get that kind of investment for the most part these days.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
Okay, so so my week, a lot of writing. I also picked up a book, mystery thriller. Read about two chapters of it. Said, I think I know who the killer is. Flipped to the back, said, "Yep," and closed it. And that was kind of disappointing. Usually, like when I read The Girl on the Train, which I recommend, I thought that was a great read. It actually took me until half to 2/3 of the way through the book to figure out who had done it, or what the possible setup was, and it turned out to be more or less correct. Yeah, it's this is hard stuff, folks. It really, you got to put all of these threads of the plot together, and no one is saying that it is easy. The people for whom this is easy, I think they're lying, but that's just me.
That's why I'm not writing mystery. I find it so hard.
Yeah.
I find intrigue hard enough. I can't even imagine creating mystery. Seriously, because I really think you need to have a story, and then you need to deconstruct it and twist it and hide everything. And I'm not up to that.
I remember I love the books of Carl Hiaasen, who is a journalist and novelist based in Florida, and he writes about Florida. Florida is a character in his books, and one theme of his books is the destruction of Florida by developers and people paving over the state of Florida. And I went to see him speak once, and he said that he didn't plan anything out ahead of time.
Wow.
Now, if you read his books, you're like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, he didn't plan out anything ahead of time. That is just amazing, because he has so many threads going through these books, but it's a talent. Okay, so this week, there is only one thing that everybody has been talking about this week, and that is
Kindle Unlimited.
Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is Amazon's program where you pay $10 a month, and you can read any number of books in the Kindle Unlimited program, 10 books at a time. So if you can take out 10 books on day one, return all 10 and get out 10 new books on day 2. This has been, this program came out last August, I think
pretty much a year ago, July.
Yeah, something like that, last summer or August, September or something. This was a giant change to how things worked on Amazon. A lot of writers of full-length novels reported that their sales disappeared overnight.
And you have to mention that Amazon set it up so authors would get some reimbursement for a borrow.
Right.
But it used to be around $1.40, $1.30 per borrow.
Right.
Which means a book was borrowed, it had to be read up to 10%, and then it would count. Then you would get the money. The borrow would count in sales rank, which is also another important little tidbit.
Yes.
Authors would get something, and you would never know ahead of time, because Kindle would have a pot for a money.
Right. And then Amazon would add money to the pot as they saw fit.
And it would get distributed in the next month, and the payout would sort of meander around 130, 140.
Right.
In a good month, it was 145.
Yeah.
That was about the highest people ever got. So that's important to know from the author side. And of course, if you sell a novel for $4.99, you make a lot more on sale than on a borrow.
Right. On most of the major bookstores, you make 70% on a sale. It's slightly different on Amazon, because below $2.99 you make 33%.
30%.
30%. Okay. But above $2.99 to $9.99 you make 70%. So if you normally sell your book for $4.99, $5 in the store, you would get $3.50 per sale. If that same novel is in Kindle Unlimited, when someone borrows that book and reads 10%, you get $1.35.
Yeah.
This is not a good deal for novelists.
Yes.
It exactly. Is a great deal for short story and short.
Novellas, anything below $2.99, basically.
Right. Yeah, $2.99 would be 3 times 7, $2.10. Yeah, that's still not a good deal if you were going to sell something at $2.99. But anything short, yeah. Certainly short stories, which are usually 99 cents. You know, you would put it on sale for 99 cents. If someone borrowed it, you would then get $1.35 for a 99-cent story. Therein lay the problem for Amazon.
In fact, people started to put out a lot of very short books. One of the favorite games was to create a book, and I want to put that into quotes, a book of less than 10 pages, so that simply opening it on your Kindle would create the 10%, would put the book over the 10% threshold for the payout.
Yes.
So that's what Amazon got swamped with.
Yes. Oh, sure. And then there were groups, by the way, never do anything like this, people, because Amazon has incredibly sophisticated algorithms for analyzing data. They knew people were doing this and they cracked down on it. And that was these gigantic groups of people, let's say 26 people, A through Z. A would borrow B's book, B would borrow C's book, C would borrow D's book, etc. To do these borrow clubs. So that, oh yeah, it was huge. Amazon does not have a problem picking this data out, guys. They cracked down on this a lot. Places like the Warrior Forum, which I never even heard of before, but I don't. Had you heard of it? It's like this. No. It's. I'm not going to get into it. It's like internet marketing for. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, the object was to get somebody to get to a 10% of a book, whatever a book was, to get your $1.35. This was terrible for novelists. This was okay for novella writers. This was awesome for short story writers. They were making bank. I know a number of, dare I say it, erotica authors, professionally people. I don't read or write erotica, but I know lots of writers who were making bank. They whipped their stuff out of other stores. Ooh, that sounded dirty. Sorry. They took their stuff out of other stores and put it in KU and were making 5 and in some cases 6 figures under Kindle Unlimited.
Here's another little tidbit. In order to have a book in Kindle Unlimited, you need to have it exclusive on Amazon. You need to be in KDP Select. And then it's automatically in Kindle Unlimited if you are in KDP Select.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought you had to opt into Kindle Unlimited.
No, I think it's basically automatically in there if you're in Select, which was what annoyed a lot of people.
Excuse me. Oh, sure. Oh, wow.
So that's one thing. If you're in KDP Select, you're in Unlimited, as in the author. I think big publishers get to choose.
Wow. Because I thought that, oh, wow. That's no wonder people were upset.
So people were leaving, I mean, novelists were leaving KDP Select.
Absolutely.
And so they could take their books out of Unlimited, which turned Unlimited into an environment of weird short stories.
Yeah. So it was these, a number of, if you go on Amazon and you look and you type in one of the big sellers, 50 Shades of Grey or The Girl on the Train or something like that, one of the first results you will always get is something like a guide to A Girl on the Train, which is one of these little pamphlets that if you buy it and open it, you have this pamphleteer has gotten $1.35 for basically a crap book. So this was not sustainable. It wasn't sustainable on any way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So Amazon announced some changes this week, which is...
And everyone has been upset, crying out about it. But Amazon did something which is fascinating on several levels. They completely changed the way they pay authors who have books in Kindle Unlimited. They decided they would pay per page read, which is easily doable. They know exactly how many pages you have read in your file on Kindle. They've been able to do that anyway because they sync your media, so they know exactly where you are in a story. They know exactly which pages you have looked at.
They know how fast you're going over pages. So if you're just flipping through, and they know that when you read a book, you take 30 seconds per page, but there's this whole series of books that you're flipping through at a second per page. Their algorithms go bing, 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 bing.
They know that.
They know that.
They track it, and the moment you sync your Kindle, all that data gets transported. That's when that. I mean, on my Kindle, I have this little round thing going on and saying, well, downloading content. What it doesn't say is that it's uploading a lot of data at the same time. So Amazon knows this.
Right. So Amazon came up with a way of calculating a page. We don't know what that is.
Well, basically what they do is they have their own little internal formatting. They have each ebook in the format as it's uploaded, and it stays that way for the sale. But they have their own internal format, which sort of takes out all the white space, which takes out a lot of
formatting you're using. You know.
Yes. So they
using gigantic fonts won't help you.
No. Yeah. They basically create a temp. They have a template they measure every book against for the number of pages, which makes sense because in your Kindle you can change the font size and you have a different number of pages. So basically they need to go down and define a page as a certain number of characters. That's what I think they're doing. They're basically formatting it. They're counting the number of characters. They're saying, okay, so many characters on one page, and we're paying authors for so many characters to be read. It's easy mathematically, I would say. Probably no problem. No, I mean that's how editors get paid in Germany. They get paid by a standard page which has 3,600 characters on it. Huh. So you can take your novel in Word, and you can look how many characters you have in it. Not words, but characters. And then you have your norm page of 3,600 characters. So divide your novel by that number, and you know exactly how much you're going to pay your editor. So,
well, I know that at least for a while, Amazon has calculated a page as 350 words, which I found interesting because a manuscript page is generally regarded as 250 words, but Amazon.
As if they're going closer to the 250 words now.
Oh, okay.
We'll see once the numbers start coming in. Right. Especially authors who sell or who have few borrows can probably say, like if you have only one borrow per month and they're going to list it per book, they're going to list how many pages per book were being read in the dashboard. So,
right. So here are some of the problems with this. Yes. So there's a total Kindle Unlimited pot of money. And then there's the total number of pages read in Kindle Unlimited. They're not telling us either one ahead of time.
Exactly.
Yes. You do get paid per page read one time per borrower, which makes sense.
Total sense.
how do they figure that out over months? If someone begins your book 1 month and then finishes it 3 months later?
I think they're just going to credit, I mean, they get the data once the thing syncs. And they probably have a date on the reading information. So they can tell you, they can probably say, aha, reader A read page 153 on July 3rd. And he read the next page 3 weeks later. And they pay out the money for those pages. And then they have reader B who read 160 pages on one day, and you get paid for those. And they do it per month, and unfortunately they will not tell us
and they're also not
the reader is going to read. They won't tell us where they stop, unfortunately, which is information authors would love to have.
And in the example that they use, in the letter that they sent out to all of us, they use an example of 10 cents per page.
Which is ridiculous.
There is not a chance that Amazon is going to pay 10 cents per page, because for a 30-page short story, they'd be paying what? $3.
Yeah.
So imagine, you have a 400-page book. They're not paying you $40 for that book. So most of the people, most of the authors who've analyzed this have come out with, it's going to be 1 cent, 2 cents per page.
Max 2 cents.
Yeah. And the big thing that they're wondering is, will there be a cap for the possible payout? Because 2 cents per page is still, $8 for a 400-page novel. They're not paying $8 for a 400-page novel.
Yeah, I'm guessing they won't pay. I mean, I'm guessing they're trying to get close to what a sale would bring to a story. I think they're trying to get close to those 70%. So a short story that you sell for 99 cents earns you 33 cents, and I think that's what they're going to aim at. So I think 1 cent per page is a very realistic number, and I think that's what we should expect. It's always nice to be surprised by more money, but
it's going to be more money for the first couple of months while they are trying to get people to sign up, and they're trying to work out the logistics of it, because it's always more money at the beginning of one of these changes. Yeah, so if you're planning on getting into Kindle Unlimited now with your long fiction, that was a good time.
And then the other thing is, they're giving authors an option to opt out right now. Usually you can stop it every 90 days, which I think is quite fair, to be honest. You can get out of KDP Select every 90 days. All you have to do is uncheck the box for KDP Select, and when the 90 days are over, it'll automatically de-enroll.
Right.
And
if you want to de-enroll, you have to check that, because a number of people have found that it's been automatically re-enrolled, even though they didn't want
get automatically re-enrolled unless you remove the check from the box. I've enrolled a couple of my books and then re-enrolled them because they were short stories. They were,
Yeah.
And I never got around to putting them up anywhere else. And I have one book that's spread out, and it's not doing that much better. So and basically, it doesn't really matter if I go wide or not for me. And right now, the series is probably getting more exposure by not being spread wide.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, part of my reason going for a novella series was borrowing, but I was going to price them at $2.99 anyway. So so it doesn't really change anything. If it probably makes my results a little better than the old way of borrowing. So I don't particularly care, really. I mean, it is not going to change my writing style.
It's going to be interesting to see, because unfortunately there is so much data that Amazon will have that they are not going to give us about finishing rate, borrow rates versus finishing rates.
Yeah, that would be awesome information to have.
But nobody knows what Amazon's going to tell us.
I mean, you can probably do the math a little bit if you look at the number of borrows you have, the number of pages your book has, and the number of pages you're getting paid for. So that might give you an estimate whether readers are finishing your book when they borrow it or not. And you'll have better information, I think, on short works, because it's more, that's just my impression. It's more likely people finish a short work than a long work.
Yeah. So,
and I'm going to be very interested on that. I mean,
well, the other interesting thing is that with Kindle Unlimited really upset a lot of people last year, because Amazon used it to play with the rankings in the bookstore. Now, this is Amazon's bookstore. They can organize it any way they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was, when someone borrowed a book, if you had two books published the same time, one in Kindle Unlimited and one not in Kindle Unlimited, the one in Kindle Unlimited entered the bookstore with a better ranking in the store, just right off the bat. As soon as it received a borrow, it received a boost in the rankings, which was somewhat greater or something than a sale. So books that were in Kindle Unlimited had higher discoverability than those not in Kindle Unlimited.
Which makes sense if a bookstore wants to push the lending system. I mean, I can understand why they would do that. But
Amazon really wanted to boost Kindle Unlimited, and they did so by favoring the Kindle Unlimited books, which it's their bookstore. And then there was a thing where you got the boost even if no one ever opened the book, and people called those ghost borrows, where you got a boost in ranking even though no one ever read to the 10%.
That's right. The sales rank went up even if the borrower never opened the book. That's true.
So a big question people have is, what's going to happen now? Someone borrows your book. Does the ranking continue to get better the further they read in the book? Is Amazon going to reward books that people are more likely to finish? Which
would be very interesting.
Which I could understand, because they want to make readers happy. They want to offer them books that they're likely to finish.
Yes.
But here's the thing: nobody knows. Everyone says Amazon hasn't figured it out yet. Trust me, Amazon has figured it out. They know exactly what they're going to do. This is not their first turn at the rodeo. Which brings us to the topic of today's podcast, halfway through. This is not the first go round at the rodeo for Amazon. Last year was Kindle Unlimited 1.0. The year before that, let's see, that was 2014. What happened in 2013? There was something huge in 2013. In 2012,
they took away they separated the free and paid for rankings.
Right. They created two bestseller lists. It was in 2012 that they separated. It used to be that if you made your book free and then you flipped it over to paid, it would stay at that rank in the bookstore. So if you got to number 1 on the free charts and then you flipped to paid, you would suddenly be number 1 in the paid charts and be paid accordingly. Amazon said, yeah, not so much, and split those.
Yeah, that hurt a lot of people.
That hurt a lot of people had been banking. That's why free was such a huge tool, why everyone was so crazy about free, because of that little trick. So sorry to have missed that one, let me tell you, but oh well. Yes. The ground beneath your feet is always going to be shifting. As long as you're dependent on Amazon or Apple or Google, the rules are going to change, and you can't stop it. Okay, you cannot stop them from changing the rules. This is their business. They're not in business for you.
And there's no point in actually lamenting it. It's just the way life is with those retailers for your ebooks. It's that's what they are. They are businesses that simply make it possible for others to order your book. There's no point in saying how dare they do that with my book. It's also no use in comparing that with the traditional publishers, because the whole business system is a completely different mind thing. A retailer business is very, very different from a classic publisher's business. And the only thing we can do is, as indie authors, is just be aware of these things and learn.
Yeah. Every month, Amazon, and we keep talking about Amazon because they are the 800-pound gorilla. Every month, Amazon offers 4 books published by Amazon's publishing wings, such as Amazon, what is it, Skyscape, Thomas and Mercer, etc. Offers 4 books to their Amazon Prime readers, and you can pick one of them for free. These 4 books will always be at the top of the charts for the coming month, because Amazon Prime readers like getting free stuff, and they get one of these books for free. The only thing you can do about that is, when Amazon comes knocking on your door, decide whether you're going to go with one of the Amazon publishing arms. That's all you get to decide on it.
It's options. I think that's it. I mean, it's business options. As a coach, if I get approached by, let's say, a major TV station wanting to do a series on me, that's a business option. It's not, see, and I can say, well, I want the exposure or not. But that's the first time indie authors ever had that kind of business options. It used to be that you had to send in your what's it called in English? You had to get this agent thing. You had to write the synopsis. You had to do the whole thing, basically applying for a slot, and that was the only option you had. And now there's so much, and of course you have tons of different options for marketing, which makes it so hard because the sands keep shifting.
The sands are going to keep shifting, because you're not just an author, you're not just an artist, you are a self-employed business person, and you can never forget that. Now, if you just want to be a writer, writing stories and publishing every so often, that is fine. It really is. If you want to make this your business, if you want to make this your income, you need to know how to adjust. There are a whole bunch of people last year, a whole bunch of writers who threw up their hands and said, oh, I don't know how to make money at this business, and stopped. And in the past week, I have read more people going, well, now I don't even know how to calculate my income every month. Thank you very much, Amazon. Yeah, you're right. You don't. The only way you know how to calculate your income every month is if you go work for a big company and get a paycheck every week. That is the only way that works. If you are not prepared to deal with that, you are in the wrong business.
Every entrepreneur has to deal with that. As coach, I can't tell you how many clients I'm going to have next month. I mean, I'm doing things to streamline that. I'm working with packages. I try to sign up people for more than a single session. But basically, as a coach, as an entrepreneur, you never know what's going to happen. If you're a person who repairs roofs, well, a big storm will give your business a huge boost, and a quiet summer will make it, sag. So life as entrepreneur is not predictable.
It's really not. And the biggest advice I'd give you is find someone who understands, who maybe is also an author. You can get together for 5 minutes per week and really moan about the changes, and then set a timer, and when the 5 minutes is up, start figuring out how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to deal with it, that's fine. It really is. This is I'm feel very grateful that we're not waiting every month for me to pay the mortgage. I know somebody who moved to Nevada because she needed to be able to gauge her taxes better. There is no state income tax in Nevada, so because of just needing to figure out cash flow better.
Yeah.
It's a tough gig.
But we do have the options. And seriously, getting a day job and writing in your spare time and treating it as a beautiful hobby is an option. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you want, have some secure income and write, or get a part-time job. It'll make you a lot happier than struggling with the changes. And
there will be changes. This isn't the last one that's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
There was a blog post by Christine Catherine Rush this morning, or maybe yesterday, I don't know, about gaming the system, about writers trying to figure out how to beat this system and really cash out with whatever the parameters are today. And her point of her blog post, and I will include this in the show notes too, is you got to take the long term on your own career, because doing tactics to game the system today is not going to serve you well tomorrow.
It's probably going to hurt you tomorrow. Yeah. And I would like to recommend more. Chris Rush has also done a little series on freelancing and how to deal with changes as a freelancer. And I think it's a 4-part series. I'll give you a little link to put into the show notes. Okay. And it's all about, first of all, saving money. Put that stash away. That'll take you through bad months. Mm-hmm. It's about staying on your feet and looking at the changes and running with them rather than screaming. And just what you posted, I think it was yesterday. I need to look it up. Gaming the system doesn't work long term. So you need to find your specialty, but you also need to be able to let go of things that don't work and figure out new stuff that will bring you money if you're a freelancer. And she explicitly includes getting a day job in bad times as options for a freelancer. It's not that you're failing. It's basically just taking care of yourself. And if it means you'll take a secretary job for half a year, that's fine. It's just using your talents to survive or keep your lifestyle.
And if you're hanging out with people who say, well, I would never do that, stop hanging out with those people. You need to do what's best for you. And if that means that you can pay for your groceries every month by taking a day job, do it. The system is always going to change.
Yes. And the way you structure your life has to fit the stress levels you can put up with. It has to make you happy, which is really something a lot of people don't even say. They don't like to use a happy word if they're talking about making a living. But let's face it, we're writing because we love it. It's not people who write in order to just make money. Those are the people that game the system. Those are the people that cash in a year and they get out of the system as soon as the rules change. These people are not creating a steady career as a writer. Mm-hmm. And they don't do it for the love of words either. They do it for the love of money. And that's not going to work.
It will work short term. You'll either get burned out or you won't know what to do when the system changes, because you've learned how to work this way to your benefit, like the erotica writers who could guess how much they would make per month depending on how many pages they published.
Yes.
As soon as that goes away, then what do you have? Well, if you don't really want to be writing those stories, you're going to have to find a whole new setup, or you're going to have to get out of writing.
Yes. And some people will get out of writing with those changes. Yeah. And other people will have a little comeback. I mean, those authors who put their novels into KU, again, maybe because they don't have a whole lot of sales in other distributors, and find they're now getting paid reasonably well through Kindle Unlimited. Because let's say they make the same as a sale for a borrow, because it just averages out that way. Let's just assume this happens. They might love putting their books back into Kindle Unlimited, which is probably what Amazon hopes, because they want to enhance the value of that system, that library.
Sure. I mean, that's one of the big reasons Amazon did this, is they knew, Kindle Unlimited was, on a huge downward slope towards short fiction, that people would go through and then forget. They want people coming back for the big novels that keep them there.
Yes. So I think what Amazon is probably going to aim for is to have similar results for a borrow as a sale would bring. That to me makes the most sense. Let me put it that way. That would be the incentive to bring Kindle Unlimited back into a kind of diversity a normal bookstore would offer. Have short stories, have novels. And seriously, honestly, if they ever publish information on how much % of a book gets read to please their readers, to give them an idea if that's a popular book or not, wow, that would
be
certainly
amazing data.
change things.
Yeah.
That would certainly, I mean, it would probably skew the whole thing towards action-based, high-tension books, possibly page-turners, and it would probably hurt more thoughtful, slower books. It just depends on the reader preferences, really. But it would be very interesting to see that. I think it is going to change the way, again, it's going to change what's going to be available in Kindle Unlimited. That's what Amazon wants.
Yes. And nobody knows what the fallout is going to be.
No.
I mean, boy, there are a whole bunch of people running around with their hair on fire, and Amazon hasn't given us any real data. So I'm not sure how you can make a decision. Do I write a 300-page novel, or do I write 10, 30-page stories?
And I think that's the wrong question, really. We can't answer that question by looking at Amazon. It's like, that would be gaming the system again. That's the whole idea of gaming the system, looking at the parameters and writing to the parameters. And I think right now we can only go back to the old advice of write your story and write it to the length that your story needs. Create exciting books, create books that keep people reading and interested and become a better writer. I mean, that's always been the advice.
There's a great story from William Goldman about the filming of the movie Marathon Man with Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman is walking around the set, trying to build himself up for this big scene, trying to get himself into the whole emotional place where his character was. And Laurence Olivier looks at him and says, "My dear boy, why don't you just try acting? Instead of trying to game the system, why don't you just try writing?" It's, if you want, there are very good reasons to stay in Kindle Unlimited. It's a lot easier than having to deal with these other bookstores.
Yes.
It's, in the US, at any rate, it's the biggest bookstore, Kindle. Not so true everywhere overseas. On the other hand, I don't know what the penetration is of ebook readers overseas.
Well, Europe is lagging behind in just ebooks versus print books. And of course, in Germany, we have the Tolino, which is starting to become a better system. They just opened up themselves for indie authors, so you basically could, in theory, upload your books directly to Tolino. I say in theory because their upload page is still very buggy. It doesn't quite work. I have a book in Tolino through draft to digital, which was one reason. My one book that's wide is in Tolino, and I haven't had a sale through Tolino just yet.
Yeah.
But it's going to become an interesting competition to the Kindle, primarily because Tolino just announced that they have now access to the main two distributors in Germany for their ebooks, which is rather fascinating. It is something that has been very hard to crack with print books. There's no way you can have a print book in the two main print distributors unless you pay a high fee. And having your ebooks in those distribution lists or distributor lists now is going to be quite fascinating. Of course, the German market is a lot smaller than the English language market, and let's face it, worldwide. I've just been thinking about that last night. If I put my book into KDP, whether it's select or not, if I put it into KDP, into Amazon, it's in, how many have they now? 8 or 10 stores worldwide. People in India can buy my book because it's listed there. And you don't get that with any other distributor.
Excuse me. In iTunes or iBooks, you get 50 countries.
You get 50 countries. Well, some Amazon stores are like, I mean, you have the German store, but it sells to Austria, Denmark, whatever. So they have more countries in one store than the. But yeah, maybe iTunes is better. I don't know. They did not accept my ebook. Those idiots. They refused holding it.
Huh. Interesting.
Because I have an Amazon link in it.
Oh, well, yeah, that'll do it. Please try offering something for sale at Walmart that has a link to Kmart in it. Sorry, yeah. Those are 2 stores here.
Well, the other didn't mind. I mean, Kobo didn't mind. It's on Scribd. It's on Tolino. It has that Amazon link in it. And
see, this is one of the things we got to talk about Scrivener. It's trivial to create different versions of the book for different.
Well, I have a formatting company, so right. I can't quite go in and change the file myself. And they promised to give it to me, and then they sort of got swamped, and I never thought. I just thought it was not going to be worth it, because let's face it, I've put my book wide in, I don't even remember, January, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It had 2 sales through Barnes & Noble, and it had 1 sale through Scribd in 6 months. So
yeah, and that's something because Amazon puts its thumb on the scale for people who are exclusive to Amazon. In many cases, you get an immediate positive feedback for being exclusive to Amazon. And there are some people who report that it takes time to get traction on the other bookstores, but once it does, it really begins to pay off. I don't know what is best for everybody. I don't know how, you have to make that decision. You have to be in charge of your business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you have to decide how intensely you're going to work it. And I have some reservations about many of the other distributors. I have a feeling I will never work with Google Play until they decide.
I don't know what those guys are doing. The more I hear, the more I'm like.
Until they decide to really cooperate with authors and not just play with the prices whenever they feel like it, I'm not going to put my books in there. I mean, I mean, Amazon keeps changing the rules, yes, but Google Play sort of doesn't even have rules.
Yeah. Yeah. I only have my free book on Google Play. It just sounds like the Wild West there. And, it's, I don't write romance. I hear romance is very big on Google Play, so.
It really is true. It's a business. And with the copyright being as it is, and ebooks being as they are, and print on demand being as it is, you're playing a very long-term game. And I mean, consider this: copyright is 70 years after your death. You're playing a game that your grandchildren will be playing if they want to. So I don't really think there's any point in trying to be in there for the quick gain, for making bank for 3 months or 6 or 12, and then just um, getting out again. That is completely missing the whole foundation of publishing.
Yeah. There are many ways of planning out the kind of business you want to have. And maybe we will discuss that one week. Let me put that on the list.
Yes.
But everybody really is going to be different. You know, where I want to be in 5 years is going to be completely different from where somebody else wants to be and can be. And you have to be the one to make the decisions about that. Going along, there are going to be gigantic upheavals every 6 months. You know, we have Amazon pulling something in summer. And the reason that they do it in summer, by the way, is to work out the kinks before the
big sales and
the holiday season. Because, I don't know if you know this, but 70% of every consumer dollar is spent in the months between September and December. How's that for your factoid? Yes. That is why all major products come out because the likelihood is that your wallet will be open during that season. So Amazon wants to work the kinks out of the system before we head into the holidays. How's that for thinking ahead? And then there, you know, somebody's always doing something February. You got to roll with it. You know, keep track and adjust. You know, you have to have what you want, and you have to be able to adjust your plan, whatever works.
So basically, keep writing. So keep calm and keep writing. Be yourself. Write what you love, and take the long view.
Yeah, chasing. You know, like I said, I know people for whom chasing the dollar in Kindle Unlimited has paid off big time. And they are running around with their hair on fire right now because they don't know what's going to happen next month.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel kind of calm. I'm not in Kindle Unlimited. I'm planning on putting the zombie series in Kindle Unlimited just to give it a test out, but I haven't done it yet. Okay. Next week, we have a special guest. So that'll be exciting. Yay! Yes, I've gotten confirmation and everything. But this is it for this week's podcast of the 21st Century Writer. Join us next week when we have a special guest discussing a topic near and dear to both Hannah and me. If you're enjoying this podcast, please leave a review or some feedback on iTunes. And if you're interested in any announcements or special mailings, please visit our webpage at www.the21stcenturywriter.com, and 21 is a number. And I'll have that in the show notes too. Okay, so thank you for joining us for another hour. My name is Diane Patterson.
And I'm Hannah Steenbach.
And this has been the 21st Century Writer. Bye.
Bye.